AJ back here talking a little college football. Saturday, September 18th, I believe. Today is the 18th. That's correct. So yesterday, dropped the half unit play with Central Florida first half. Fun little back and forth. I think I got what I kind of assumed out of Central Florida. I mean, I punched them in for a little more than 14 that first half. I was really more impressed with Louisville's offensive line. And look, Cunningham played really good, or well for you grammatic freaks. I think that overall, I think you're going to run into spots like that. I truly believe UCF covers, whether it's first half or full game. I feel like they cover that at least 6 times out of 10. Again, I really feel like you got a really good game out of Cunningham. And look, he's the type of player that's maybe mercurial's too strong in the sense of he's not as volatile with using that word specifically, but he normally doesn't play that well. I thought he played really well. He also got bailed out on a pick that definitely should have been caught earlier in the game, which could have definitely swung things around again. But again, I'm not a play-by-play guy. I don't think one play defines a bet. So I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you with that stuff. But overall, I like that spot. It just didn't get home. I think that either way, we move forward. I think today. I don't think today. Today's a day where I've adjusted my bet size up to full units. So yeah, time to put the nuts on the table. I even did my hair for the show. Look at this. Look at that mop. Some would call it sex hair, but I'll tell you this: it is not sex hair. All right, so I guess we could dive on in for those that aren't aware. Also, say a little quick hello to the folks in the chat: Dexter, Sakrathar, Pie Eater, Matt, Willie, J-Ro from. Thanks for being here. I'm also going to back this up with an NFL show because I know I missed the Print Factory for the folks that run Pure that get to watch that every week. I won't miss many of them throughout the season, but either way, I'm going to do NFL breakdown as well. Give you some spots I like there. Right after this show, you can watch it whether you watch it tomorrow morning. I'll be live today, but you can watch it back tomorrow whenever you have time. We all have busy lives in our own way, right? But moving on to today. So for folks that don't know how I usually do these shows, I typically have 5 best bets for a full day, but considering this is the first day where I've kind of increased my own bet size, I'm going to stick to just 3, and we'll move things up accordingly moving forward. I also have some live spots that I like for the Run Pure crew, but save that for them. What's up, Nathan? No, you kill Bill. I think you're mentioning the DFS folks. Yeah, no, they're not going to be on this week. Look, it'll be a blessing when they come on, but they're not going to be on every week. So we'll expect to see my ugly mug most weeks solo. But again, it'll be nice to get some DFS advice. If you want some DFS advice, I could definitely help out. So just pop your questions in. Again, I've been out of the game DFS-wise for a bit. I mean, I played a bit last year, but I played a bunch of high stakes in it would have been 2014, 2015, 2016. It was posted weekly 5K head-to-head. So that weren't getting taken. I think overall, you don't lose it, but I'm definitely not what I once was in that. I used to spend a ton of time researching it all week. I don't do that anymore. But overall, more committed to the betting end. But yeah, you have any DFS questions? Just poke them in. Don't be shy. Grab your nuts, ask a question. What's up, Richie? Tulsa game over. See, Richie comes in, he brings the fire. Where's everybody else's fire? Talking to all of you. Where is the other fire? See, at least Richie comes in, throws his nuts on the table, and tells you what he likes. I expect similar things from you guys as well. Richie, by the way, hope all is well. My pop says hello. All right, so I know I've been saying that five different times. We will get started, and now we will get started. So again, I typically do 3 to 5, 5 picks. This week I have 3, so I'll go through the 3 I like. If you have any questions on any other games, feel free to post them. I can talk you through them after the games that I discussed with you guys as far as my best bets that I like. And then we can go from there. So feel free to pop your questions in. I'll make sure to get to them all once I'm done talking to you guys on some of these points. Now, it looks like a lot of people seem to like Michigan State. I'll get into that game a little later. And Dexter, see, at least these people are starting to post their picks now. See, this isn't hard. It's not hard. Don't be an asshole. Post your picks. Okay, so J-Ro from Coastal Carolina. It's a good segue. Because no, not exactly. So the first game I want to highlight as my best bet, the Buffalo Bulls team total over 20.5 minus 125. That's at DraftKings. I know you can get 21.5 at like FanDuel at plus money. I mean, if you do that, I'd say roll that for a half unit because as it should go without saying, 21 is a pretty key number. So I got this at DraftKings, and this just, feels like a complete overreaction. I say it feels like because it's difficult to know how good Buffalo is going to be this season, right? New head coach, changes to their O-line. They lose Patterson in the backfield. And they also look completely out of sorts versus Nebraska. It's kind of why I like this more, though, because I do feel like that's influenced in this number. I, however, also have questions about the Chanticleer's defense. First of all, I'd argue it's very likely that Coastal scores 21 here, which means that Buffalo is going to try all game long to get 21 on the board. That's an unwritten issue with team totals, right? When you bet them, like you bet a big favorites team total over, right? And they get a decent lead. Like, where's their true motivation to get you over the number? Like, say you bet a team total of over 40.5, right? And it's 28-0 at the half. Where's their motivation to get the two extra scores? Not saying they don't or can't, but again, you always want to, when you back team totals, for the most part, you want to back spots where teams are going to be committed to wanting to score over that number. And I think you're definitely going to get that here from Buffalo. So anyway, the Chanticleers, depending how you like the pronunciations, have taken a back step defensively from last season in regards to the personnel. Hasn't showed yet because they played Citadel in Kansas. Kansas is likely to be the tomato can of the Big 12 again, but they still averaged, averaged about 412 yards of offense, or put up 412 yards of offense, about 6 yards per play in that game versus Chanticleers. Now, ironically enough, Lance Leipold is now at Kansas. He was at Buffalo for the last 6 years. Looking to build up Kansas, specifically their offense, like he did with Buffalo. And again, for those unaware, he was at Buffalo for the past 6 seasons or so. Buffalo still has the same quarterback from last year. They do inject Maurice Linguist as their head coach. All things considered, this was an interesting hire from Buffalo, though. Defensive-minded guy. This may force the offense into a backstep from their previous years. Buffalo still showed some up-tempo-ness, though, to their game, piling up nearly 400 yards versus Nebraska, covering on 50% of their third downs with a pretty large sample, 11 to 22. So normally is a recipe for at least more than 2 or 3 scores, except they only had 3 on the board. But again, a few missed fourth downs, a fumble in a bad spot, 3 missed field goals. Certainly can botch the scoreboard a bit. I just think you'll get a better showing from this offense here overall. And there's also a few lines of hidden juice whenever you're going to bet Coastal games, because Coastal covered the spread a tremendous amount of times last year. Their winning percentage, I think, against the number, it legitimately might have been like 80% against the number. Just a really crazy good year from them. And I think that's kind of melted into this number as well. Look, I think Coastal can cover here, but I think to do so, they're going to need to score a lot of points. I like the number at 21.5 for Buffalo to sneak over. Nice little bounce back spot for me with Buffalo. So Buffalo will come out swinging, not scoring last game. Yeah, so Dexter, I agree with you there. I'm not so much a narrative guy in that respect. I think the spot specifically is what makes a lot of sense for me. Coastal's first road game as well for those into that. Okay, so that's one's at 12. 3:30. Wazoo, USC. Over 61.5 minus 115. You know what? Maybe easier if I do it this way, because I typed these for you. This was what? Buffalo team total over 20.5 minus 125. And I'm not a big VIG guy, so you're not going to see me lay that type of VIG often. But I like the number spot. Okay, so the 61.5 number for Wazoo USC number, I just don't understand. Got this lined up past 64 and makes it an auto fire for me. Now, Washington State, under Nick Rolovich, now in his second year, replaces Mike Leach. And as we know, he brings the run and shoot offense over there from Hawaii. Last year, though, Wazoo was decimated by injuries and COVID. But this year, it's a different story. They got a lot of their offensive personnel back, returning a ton of depth. And for those that remember, Rolovich was at Hawaii, where Hawaii was piling up points week after week under him. Max Borghi at running back has drawn plenty of Christian McCaffrey comparisons, though this team has struggled at quarterback a bit, especially last season. This season, though, Jaden DeLaura appears to have the reins on this offense, looks a lot more experienced, more confident as well. He's certainly got good wheels, so I expect a little dual threat from him, throughout the rest of the season. With all the return starters from last year, this year should be a good one for Wazoo, especially on the offensive side, and I expect their offense to be putting a ton of pressure on USC's defense this afternoon, who's dealing with some narrative issues coming in on the USC end of things. They just fired their head coach, Clay Helton, which honestly was a long time coming. They certainly gave him quite a long leash, as this program is used to winning year in and year out, and they have struggled in that category the last few seasons. Go back to the Pete Carroll days and even back further. And even I guess you could argue Reggie Bush, that era, but that was on the Carroll as well. I'm talking USC has always been a winning formula. They just haven't been that. I'd argue going back almost a decade now. A bad loss to Stanford expedited the Helton firing, and this team needs to push forward, though. Dante Williams takes over, who's really one of the best recruiters in the country. But there are question marks that surround his X's and O's type of coaching. Regardless, though, he's now in the hot seat, at least temporarily. What I like about these spots is you almost always see the players push harder after a coach firing. And I know this goes more towards the narrative side of things versus analytical. But this is actually what kind of pushed me off Wazoo plus the points. I originally wanted to back Wazoo plus the points. But the more I dug into it, I hate how motivated players get after a coach firing and someone else steps up. And so that kind of bothered me in the sense of, Wazoo not being able to. I also missed the best number as well, so that plays into it. What we know we get with USC, though, right, is Keaton Slovis. It was just an excellent thrower of the foosball. He also has very skilled wideouts around him, above average run game behind him. With this in mind, though, he hasn't looked great thus far and didn't really have a great season last year either. This is a good spot for him, though, as Rolovich's teams are never ones that really bring it on defense. He'll have his opportunities to move the ball downfield and expect a lot of big plays out of USC today. It's also another offense that never really slows themselves down. They play at a decent pace as well. Look, last year, USC ripped through Wazoo, but again, Wazoo wasn't the same team they were this season. They got a lot of their offensive personnel back, and even the guys that played last year, they're back. So I expect Wazoo to at least do a decent job keeping pace here. Wazoo plays fast. USC certainly does not play slow, so expect this game to be frantic in that respect. USC is more talented, but the coaching question marks coming in kind of, it's tough for me to back or fade them, in my opinion. I do like points, though, from both offenses, and I feel it's a soft number at 61.5, so over that minus 115 at FanDuel. Richie, I mentioned 21.5, so you can do it. If it's at dog money, you can do it for, I'd say, a half unit, or maybe if you're watching the game and you can bet it live, do that. I want to be clear, like college football specifically is a sport you really want to be betting live. If the opportunities, of course, commence, like if you're able to watch the games, you're able to bet them, great. To me, I advise you doing it live. Now, I'm a big pregame bettor, so I prefer to do it pre myself. But that doesn't mean you can't find extra value in betting live. Now, there's also the other angle to this where many of you probably bet pre and then go about your day, do your thing, update scores here and there. Don't have time to live bet, fine. But if you do have the option to bet live, there's so many options. I mean, if you like a team that's like a 6-point favorite, or you like a few different teams that are a 6-point favorite, I'll give you an example. Maybe you just, instead of betting all three minus 6.5, maybe you just wait until the opposing team of one of those games scores first. Then you pound the team you want to get at like minus 2.5 or maybe money line, minus 120. So these are just options. I know these are obvious options, right? But I don't think everybody realizes that, right? Like off the jump. And again, Richie, to your point, if Buffalo goes like the first 3-4 minutes without scoring, that number is going to drop under 21.5. So that's my recommendation. All right. So last but not least, for sure, because this is my favorite bet of the day, 6:00 p.m. ECU hosting. No, not hosting, on the road versus Marshall. It is my best bet of the day. So ECU plus the 10 bones, minus 110 DraftKings. Now, as you guys know, if you watched last week's show, ECU burned me last week in a heartbreaker, but I'm going to back them again here, primarily because I liked what I saw from them. I also have them highly ranked coming in, at least above what the market has them. First of all, I love what this defense has been doing. I know that they struggled to stop App State's run game. But look, many teams do, especially non-Power 5 teams. I also felt that App State game was much closer than the score indicated. If you watched it, you might be able to relate. But then they stifle South Carolina offensively. If it weren't for a strange pick six before halftime from Ehlers, ECU would have went into the half up at minimum 2 scores because they were driving in that drive as well. And look, they held the ball for over 41 minutes versus South Carolina and still lost. It's not something you often see. They had issues stopping big pass plays, though. But this isn't really a staple of what Marshall does for this game. Now, Marshall's another team that's just been an absolute cover machine over the last year or so. And that's why I think this number is a little extra padded. Grant Wells and Gamage have a nice little connection there, QB wide receiver. But I've watched a lot of Wells over the last season, and he can be so inaccurate at times, especially if he gets pressure in his face. And I loved what ECU has done, defensively in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback. If ECU can keep that same level of pressure like they did for South Carolina, this should really be a close game throughout. I'll start with ECU. It will start with ECU stopping the run game, which I felt they did exceptionally well versus South Carolina. Led by Ehlers, though, on offense. This team is in good hands. But look, he needs to be consistent and play smart. Can't turn the ball over. That second half turnover, especially in South Carolina, was getting the ball back. Look, if you're him in that spot, he was getting rushed for a just eat the sack and punt the football. There was like 40 seconds left. Like they punt the football, the half's practically over. They would have had 30 seconds left. They would have been pinned down inside the 20. Instead, of course, a bad decision winds up being a pick six, and then South Carolina starts with the ball the second half. Just weirdness around one. Again, I'm not a big play-by-play guy in how one play dictates a game, and I'm not saying that play dictated the game, but a play like that can be very instrumental in the reason why your team loses or wins. So either way, he's got to be smarter with the football. Look, overall, though, we don't need them to win the football game here, which is important because this team, over the last season, while I felt they've played well, they have found a lot of interesting ways to lose football games. Here, they just have to hang within less than double digits. And look, if Marshall has a small lead late, his team is going to try to run the football and run the clock, eat clock. Look, I think we have some market perceptions here influencing this number. ECU should not be a 10-point dog here by no means. I line this actually at 6.5 on mine, which is why it's my favorite bet of the day. Look, and may the odds be ever in our favor. Also, folks, like the video. I'm not sure. I don't have the YouTube video in front of me here, but I don't know how many likes we have. But start liking the video. Like if you're not suffering from carpal tunnel, or maybe like you broke your wrist, like you get that, like you go out for dinner sometimes with people. The check comes, and everybody's got that like broken wrist syndrome, or like they have to go to the bathroom, right when the check comes. Look, this isn't that case. Just like the video. All right. Also, as you guys know, for these types of things, I bring the coffee. All right. See this they fucked me over though today. You see this dumb shit at the top. Now I might not seem like a healthy eater, and for the most part, I wouldn't consider myself a healthy eater, but this shit is unacceptable. I didn't ask for the hot fudge and the whipped cream. This is a typical mocha. Okay, a mocha does not include whipped cream and hot fudge on the top of it. So yeah, they'll be getting a bad Yelp review. I won't give the name out, but this is unacceptable. And folks, I'm just kidding on the bad Yelp review. I'm not one of those. Could you imagine like ordering something poor? Could you imagine like ordering anything bad from wherever, whether you DoorDash something or Uber Eats, or you go pick up something and it frustrates you so bad that you need to go in front of a computer and type a Yelp review? Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of venting. All right, so where were we? Oh, I got to post these other bets. I didn't post the – okay, so hold on. Best bet. What was it? Wazoo, USC, over 61.5. That was minus 115. And then ECU plus 10, minus 110 versus Marshall. Okay, so Uncle T, that's a good point. I think that I will say. Well, before I answer you, Uncle T, Willie, you ever get a cup from Dunkin' Donuts that looks like this? So I will say that Holden definitely strikes me as a Yelp reviewer. Whether it's positive or negative. I could picture him getting like a salami sandwich from a deli and being like, they fucked this sandwich up. And it brings up a good point. I know I'm going to go off on a tangent here. When you go out for food, wherever you go, whether you go to a diner, you go to a steakhouse, order what you're supposed to order. Okay. I remember one time I was at a Friendly's. For those that don't know Friendly's, right? Ice cream spot. They make cheeseburgers and other stupid shit. It's got like a diner vibe to it, but they make good ice cream. I assume they're everywhere. I know they're in our area. They were. I went with my family about 4 or 5 years ago to a Friendly's, and my uncle orders shrimp cocktail from a Friendly's. Okay. He's like, oh, wow, this looks really good. Let me get the shrimp cocktail. Okay. Now, first of all, the shrimp cocktail was terrible. Okay. He was like, oh, this tastes like shit. And he went and he complained to the waiter about this. So I'm like, Uncle Tom, let's be honest. Okay. Friendly's, it's not Friendly's fault they fucked up the shrimp cocktail. Okay. It is your fault for ordering shrimp cocktail from a Friendly's. There are certain things at certain restaurants that you don't order. Okay. You don't go to a steakhouse and get pasta or chicken parm. Okay. You don't go to an Italian restaurant and get steak. Okay. There's just certain things you do and don't do. You go to a diner. What do you get at a diner? You get a wrap. You get a cheeseburger. You don't get like a filet mignon from a diner. Okay. And expect it to be top notch. I know I'm kind of ranting here, but that's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Can't stand when people do that. And then to think you have the justification to complain about it. Anyway, so I know I'm going off the rails here, but that stuff pisses me off. Be better. Okay. Be better. Anyway. Okay, so now I'll get to some of your other questions. Let me see what we have here. You guys have been active in the chat. I fuck with you guys. I like this. You guys are keeping it classy. No, I don't always keep it classy, but you guys are keeping it classy. All right, so J. From we talked about the Coastal minus 14. Obviously, I'm not so much on the other end, but I'm correlated to the other end, so I can't like that. And people like Michigan State, right? So what do we got current numbers here for Michigan State? I don't mind it. My issue is I think Miami's offense looks better today, and I know that sounds silly, right? They just get smacked. They got smacked by Bama last week. Hold on one second. Let me see. One second. See, and they barely beat App State. So I'll tell you this though, App State looks good this year. Like I know that it's like, oh well, they're a non-Power 5 team. They look good every year, but I mean, from what I've seen from them, I mean, like I said, they bum rushed ECU on the ground when South Carolina did nothing. I think App State. I think the fact that Miami barely won that game, I don't think that says less about Miami. I think Michigan State's in a good spot. I just think this number is a bit high. I know that it's come down a bit. And where it's pushed me off at 8. If I got it open, I would have auto-fired on Miami, to be honest. I'm not against Michigan State here. I just think Miami's offense comes out looking better today, and it kind of deters me away from liking the Sparties. I know that, and then who has Michigan State even played, right? I mean, with Northwestern and even knows that Youngstown State. I was going to say Yorktown State. LOL. But overall, I'm definitely not in love with the Michigan State end. So if you're betting them or you already bet them, I mean, look, wish you the best. I didn't bet Miami, not at 6.5, that's for sure. So hold on one second. Oh, I'm looking at it. I'm saying plus. Why am I saying plus? Miami as a favorite. Excuse me. I don't know why I was kind of going off on the wrong tangent there. Miami is a 6.5. Now I'm trying to think back because I did a lot of my looking at on Tuesday or Wednesday. I was deterred off this game primarily because Miami as a favorite in any circumstance, I don't really like. Not under this new coaching personnel anyway, but they do deserve to be a favorite here. So I know that, and I'm looking at here, the number obviously came down from 8 to 6.5, but I can't lay it with Miami. And I get why you guys would like Michigan State in this spot. But with that said, I do think this is a good spot for Miami. I just can't lay points with this team, and I think a lot of you seem to share the same sentiment. So maybe if you like Miami, wait, see if Michigan State scores first, then you can get Miami at a better number. Or as far as it relates to Michigan State, I have my concerns over how much this team can keep up offensively with Miami if Miami does in fact get it going. So I think that's my biggest concern. Again, I apologize, I got that game mixed up with the spreads. But overall, so we have Michigan State, Indiana. So I don't have much on the Indiana-Cincy game. I don't like betting Cincy games in general. I just think they're a really good non-Power 5 team. And when they play good Power 5 teams, to me, it's very difficult to truly understand how good they match up. Indiana's a good squad, though. I do like I actually slightly lean that game over. I think it was, in the 57 area? 50? Yeah, so 50. I do like that. I do slightly lean that game over. I do think you get points from both teams. I think that's a low number. I know that you look at both those teams and you think good defenses, but when Cincinnati plays teams that can score, they will score with them. And I don't think Cincinnati is going to do everything they can to stop Indiana. So I do slightly lean over that 50. But again, you missed the best number there as well. 22.5, too much on the line the Sooners. I think so, Isaac. I think that the issue with Nebraska, right, is you don't really know how good or not they are. It's still early in the year. I know that they let down a ton of people last year. I know that they just blew out Buffalo. But we're going to find out today if Buffalo is really that bad. I don't think they are, which would lean me more towards liking Nebraska. So I think that Nebraska did a really good job against who I consider to be a good Buffalo squad. So with that in mind, you would think to lean more in favor of Nebraska, and that it's a big number. But I would say that if OU scores first, I would definitely look at betting Nebraska live about plus 26, plus 26.5 ish. So just my perspective. So also, let me see what we have here. Let me see. I know I missed a few. Thank you, John A. You see, John A comes in, and what does he do? Brings up his flaccid size or non-flaccid size and his social security number. Okay. We already have your social security archive, John, though. You don't have to double bang us there, but I appreciate it. And Richie brings up the UCF game at the end. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a college football. Silly shit's always going to kind of happen in weird spots at games. So, Dexter, I know you mentioned – Jay, I know you mentioned talking Indiana here at home. Again, I personally lean that over at 50. I wish I got in early on that number. I do think there's going to be scoring in that game. And I do think, first of all, Indiana's offense can play up-tempo at times with Penix back there. And Cincinnati doesn't always play slow either. I know that they can play slow, or most often can play slow. But again, I've seen the Cincinnati team against teams that score. They're happy to move up and down the field with them with tempo. So I do actually like the over in that one. And then outside of that, I don't think I missed anything else. Army here, Army. Oh well. So Army UConn first half under. I would tell you this, Richie. If you want to bet Army today under, I think you'd have to prefer full game under versus first half. Because if, in fact, Army does have a lead in the second half, they're going to take the air out of the football. So while I do think the first half and full game could go under, I'd probably prefer the full game versus first half to, kind of give yourself a little less variance. What's up, Aaron? Why someone said biggest franchise player books need to post a line for every game? We need to get the picks, the ones we like at. Yeah, exactly, Richie. So there's a good point he brings up. And overall, like I said, those are the 3 bets I like. I'm going to be in the Run Pure Discord today, talking up some live spots I like as well. And again, you'll see me from time to time talk this show where I'll give you 5 bets for the whole day. Usually, I mean, I don't. The timing doesn't matter to me. If I like 5 games at 12 o'clock, I'll give you 5 games at 12 o'clock. Today it happens to be that I liked a few different games at different times, which I guess is good for everybody involved. But yes, other than that, if you don't have any more questions, I guess we can call it. Okay, so Richie Chan brings up Temple. Now, I loved Temple last week to win. Now, here it's a little interesting, right? Because going up against BC, I think off of a big win for Temple. Like Temple started out, I think they were down 14-0 last week, and they ended up coming back and won huge. I don't exactly love the matchup, though, here against Boston College for them. I don't mind the look, though. I don't mind it. But I think that you might be able to get a better live spot there. I think that's one of those games, much like I mentioned with Nebraska, where if BC scores first, you could probably get Temple plus like 17.5, which is a big difference. So either way, I like that spot. I don't see Florida covering it all at any number and a half. So the Florida-Bama game, I will say this total has come up significantly from open. I do have a slight lean on that under. I think is it up to 61 now? I know it got to 60. Let me see. Yeah, so it's still 60. I have a slight lean under there, and I get the idea that Florida likely doesn't cover here. And look, here's the other thing: like Bama is just been a historically crazy good first half team. I think if you're going to bet Bama, why not lay the points with them in the first half instead? But I don't have any love in the side. I think 14.5 is a fair number actually. I know this got as high as actually 17.5 this week, which I guess you could have really liked Florida maybe at that number. But again, this is a tough team to bet against when you're laying less than a few scores. And it does look like Bama, once again, is going to be the creme de la creme. But overall, call it a slightly under at 60. I don't love that by any means, though. Okay, so A&M. Now, this line is still 30, I believe, because on the question from – where was that question? Do you think how did I miss this question? I could have sworn I just saw an A&M. Oh, here we go. So, thoughts on the text. Okay, so the New Mexico they're still using a backup quarterback, I believe. This, to me, I don't know how New Mexico is going to score points here. So I think you could possibly bet New Mexico's team total under. My issue with that is I'd assume, I don't have the number in front of me, I'd assume their team total is like, it's got to be what, 10.5? I mean, you can accidentally score over 10.5 points. So that makes it tough. I think that you want to bet A&M, maybe do them first half where you're laying a lesser number. But other than that, I mean, you could also bet A&M's team total over. I think New Mexico is going to have a lot of quick drives. So whether it's a 3-and-out or a few quick drive punts, which I think their defense is going to be on the field a lot. I think A&M is going to really control clock. And it's going to be really as a matter of how many points you think A&M can score. I don't bet team total overs, though, when they're this big of a favorite. So I guess I'm getting at, well, my favorite bet would probably be A&M first half over. I'm sorry, A&M first half, either over their team total or first half lay the points. I'd actually prefer first half over their team total if you can get that. That number should be like 20.5. I don't know how New Mexico's going to stop them from scoring, and I don't know how New Mexico's going to score points here. So again, to me, it would have to. I just can't imagine New Mexico is going to have like this one drive where they just have like a 15 play drive that lands in the end zone. If they score, it's going to be some type of miraculous type of score, whether it's a weird fumble, scoop and score, or a pick six, or a botched play that goes for a touchdown. So I do like the A&M side. Just the number is super big, and I'll end up staying away. And it's even 9.5, which is even crazy. Like, I don't know how anybody can bet a team total under 9.5 and feel good about it. Because think about it, if they get a field goal in the first half, just a field goal in the first half, you're still liable to an accidental touchdown for this bet to lose. So yeah, 21.5 plus 100. Princess Chachu, if you can find 20.5 at like minus 125, I prefer that if possible, or if you can even it out at 21. So to me, I like this one more, Richie. If you can get this, I like that more. Now I had one more question, I think. Yeah, I like that look, Mikey. I don't mind that. So Kansas State. So Nevada. Nothing I love about that game. I'm not a big Wildcat fan. I don't like betting their games. I think that they're a tough team to watch. And Nevada, obviously the non-Power 5. Anytime these teams play a Power 5 team, it always gets me worried. I think Nevada, I think it should be a good game. And to me, it's a coin flip. So I'd argue that there's value on Nevada, but I don't like that game by any means. Okay. So I think it was one more. Okay. So Vandy. It is interesting, right? So how much do we make of the Stanford win last week? And these are specific spots I don't like to bet at all, Sacratar, and I'll tell you why. It's early in the year. We still don't know if USC is this bad or if Stanford's this good, because Stanford looked really good last week. And they didn't look very good at all against Kansas State. So was week 1 a flash in the pan, or was week 2 a flash in the pan? And I don't want to figure that out against Vanderbilt today. I think that the line movement, I think that it does make sense to back Vanderbilt at 12.5. But again, there's a little bit of added variance that I'm not a big fan of as it relates to Stanford as a team. I don't think we know yet how good or bad Stanford actually is. I think we know Vanderbilt is not good, right? But if we don't know, if we get the Stanford that played Kansas State, they'll lose outright today. If we get the Stanford that walloped USC, they'll blow out Vanderbilt today. And I'm not trying to figure out what version of that we're going to get because I don't know where we're at actually with that team yet. So I hope that makes sense. Virginia plus 9. Virginia, my father's team. Virginia, UNC. Wow. It's actually down to 8. Well, I guess penning your book, right, Dexter? Look, I think that Howell is only going to go up from here this season. I think that he got his bad game out of the way. This is a preseason Heisman frontrunner or potential frontrunner. I know that Bryce Young is now the favorite, right? And assuming Alabama goes undefeated, he will likely win the Heisman. I say Cy Young, the Heisman. But it's early, right? And I think that North Carolina, if they can end the season as a top 10 team, if they can, and Howell's numbers are ridiculous, I do think Howell still will win the Heisman. So with that said, I think that this team has a motivation to score points every game, no matter what, because they want, I'm sure North Carolina and Mac Brown, I'm sure they want Howell to at least be in the running for the Heisman. And to do that, this team is not going to stop themselves from scoring in any game. We saw that last week with the over I gave out with them versus Georgia State. Yeah, so they're not going to stop themselves, and they're going to keep Howell in games late. And that should scare you whenever you're going to back a team in less than double digits against North Carolina, especially at home. This team is super explosive. While they did take a back step in the run game, they are still super potent offensively, and it does scare me a bit. I never seen also get Virginia games right, so there's that angle as well. So that's just my 2 cents. I know it's not like the super answer you might have been looking for, but I'm going to stay away from that spot. And maybe I'll bet North Carolina live if Virginia scores first. So Tulane Ole Miss. Wow, should be a fun one. Now, what's your question there, Gary? I know you said Ole Miss, you just want a perspective on the game. So, I'll be honest. I think whenever Ole Miss plays a team that doesn't play very good defense, that at times can play up tempo, and at times can look very good offensively, I think anytime you see a number in that 75.5, 76.5 neighborhood, I know this is going to sound silly. I think you can blindly bet these over, and it's primarily because Ole Miss is likely to score 40 in this game. Tulane's not going to do much to slow this team down. And Tulane, in my opinion, is very likely to score 3 to 4 touchdowns in this game because Ole Miss makes a ton of – as good as Ole Miss's offense is, they do a lot of head-scratching things on offense and also do a ton of head-scratching things on defense. Look, they're led by Matt Corral, and he's going to have another incredible year. Their offense has just been unbelievable under Kiffin. So, and expect more of that. I think that, hold on one second. I just want to look at something quick on Tulane. The only other thing I would say with Tulane is they're typically predicated on running the football well. And my only issue with betting the over in this game is Tulane's idea for this game to play well would be to run the clock and run the football and have sustainable drives. I do have concerns there if you want to bet the over at that number. With that said, though, man, I think Ole Miss is super live to get you 40 of that. And I think it makes sense, right? Because their team total is like 45.5. So then it becomes, can Tulane get you 30 or 28.5? And I think they can. But, again, assuming there's no boneheaded turnovers in weird spots. That's the only issue, right? Whenever you bet totals 76, 77 and above, you're never really going to feel comfortable that the over is a winner. But you very often will feel comfortable that the under is a winner, right? Because if you go through you basically need a touchdown every 5 minutes. And if you go through a 6 to 7 minute dry spell, that total becomes interesting. I think that I will tell you this. If somehow, some way the game starts slow and this total drops to like 68.5 or 69.5 for you clever folks that like that number, I think that you can just pound that over. Again, I think there's if these teams start slow, to me there's like very few scenarios where this game is like 40 to 20 or 40 to 25. I think that this is definitely one of those games that could very well be 55 to 35. One of those types of games, and I think that the scoring makes sense. Indiana, did we already touch on Indiana? We did, didn't we? Oh, we did. Yeah, we touched on Indiana, Cincy. I like that game over at 50. I don't love it because I didn't get the best number, but I do think, and I said this before, when Cincy plays an up-tempo team that can score, you get the best version of their offense. And Indiana should have no reason passing the football. I know Cincy's a good defense, but they're a good non-power 5 defense. Indiana should score as well. So that's why I like that over. Pound 69. See? Pioneer knows. All right, so I think that covers it. I don't think I missed anything. I think I got everybody involved. So hey, Richie brings us up some good points. Big money came in on the over in the past hour. So extra game. But other than that, I will be back in 20 minutes, folks, talking NFL. I have some best bets there as well. Spend most of the week kind of researching, getting some of this stuff in. So, we'll discuss some NFL. I'll go through the games briefly, each game, and I'll give you some spots I like and some spots I don't like as we go into week 2, which is, of course, overreaction week in the NFL. But no, truly, thanks, guys, for hanging out, and thanks for talking through some of these games. Appreciate your commentary and questions. And, I'll see you guys in 20 minutes talking NFL. All right, so as always, like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it. If you did not enjoy it, still like and subscribe to the video, you douchebags. It's not hard to do. Other than that, I'll catch you guys in 20 minutes talking NFL footsies. All right, talk soon. Later, guys.